fiscal cliff. Whatever deal they come up with, there's no way you can sustain a military budget the way we have it.
Okay. And so, as a result of these negotiations or non-negotiations, it could end up being vastly worse. Is that what you're saying?
Regardless, you're not going to get a good outcome. For Southern California, focusing on Southern California, those workers, those engineers, those aerospace workers, they're going to, I would say, start looking elsewhere.
Mondo, is there any way that we can bring Peter Mathews into this conversation without knocking Johnny off the phone? Because we always have a problem with that. Okay. Peter, are you with us now?
I'm here, yes, sir.
Okay. Peter's a good friend of mine from election night. Good to talk to you again, sir.
How are you doing, Johnny?
I'm very well. You are, I don't have your bio right in front of me, so why don't you tell the world? I don't.
Okay.
Tell the world. Who are you anyway? I don't know you.
I'm, right. After Tuesday night on election night.
Yeah.
Anyway, Peter Mathews, I'm from Cypress College. I teach political science there, U.S. government and international relations and urban politics, among other fun things.
Okay.
And I'm right here also a political analyst on a few different television and radio shows.
Okay, and including this one today at 4:22 in the afternoon. Mr. Mathews, have you been listening to Mr. Venom and I discuss this issue?
I heard the last part of the discussion.
And what is your sense on this fiscal cliff thing? Johnny says eventually they'll knock something out by January 15th, but it ain't going to be pretty. Do you agree with this?
I do agree. I believe we are going to go off the cliff. We've only got a few days left here, and I think what will happen is once we go off the cliff and the tax rates start going up on everyone, then the Congress will get together and say, let's cut taxes on a certain level of income, and that's where the discussion and debate will be. But I'm looking at this, Johnny. Look at these numbers right here. Average families who make about between $0 and $20,000 a year will have a $413 increase annually, and you go to the middle area. Those making between $39,000 and $64,000 a year, we're paying $2,000 more in taxes next year. And then if you go to the upper middle, between $64,000 and $108,000, it's not exactly upper middle, but it goes up about $3,500 a year. So it's real significant. That's just the income tax part. What about the payroll taxes? That's going to go up by 2% also. Actually, by 30% because they're going from 4.2% to 6.2% for workers on out of their paycheck for Social Security and Medicare.
Okay, Johnny.
All these dollars coming at people.
Johnny Venom, you know all of this stuff. We've talked about this a couple of weeks ago to this very subject, to the dollar, as a matter of fact, Mr. Venom. The ripple effect of having all of this money come out of the economy all over the United States, is this a certain trigger of a second recession?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
At the very least, you'll have it for at least 1 or 2 quarters because people are just going to be unsure what to do.
Okay, and they will have less money.
And businesses are going to be interested. They're going to say to themselves, what can I deduct? What can't I deduct?
Well, okay, let me ask both of you this, starting with Peter Mathews. I know this, and I'm an idiot. You two are much more learned people than I am, but I'm not the smartest, the sharpest tool in the drawer. I'm really not. If I know, and I accept what Mr. Mathews and Mr. Venom is saying is gospel truth, because despite what Vanessa thinks here, I do know how to add and subtract. It's miraculous. I do. Okay, and I recognize you take lots of dollars out of the economy, an economy that's 70% consumer-driven. You're, not to put too fine a point on it, you're screwed. Okay, and people stop buying stuff, and people stop hiring, and the layoffs start, and everything goes to crap. Okay, I understand that. I recognize that. Beginning with Mr. Mathews, if you've been watching the news for the last 4 months or so, as this issue started to rear its head towards the end of the election cycle, and since then, about 60% of the people in this country, according to polling, Mr. Mathews, blame the Republican Party for this. They don't blame the president. They don't blame the Democrats in the Senate. They blame Bonnier. See, I did it right this time. I'm not going to call him Boner. Okay, Bonnier, okay? So they blame the Republicans. If you're a Republican congressman, Peter, even as safely as you feel in your nice little gerrymandered district, if there is a second recession, you're done. Okay, because a lot of these guys only won re-election by about 2,500, 3,000, 4,000 votes. That just means 2,500 votes in the other direction, and you're over. Okay,
that's right.
And you end up with the situation that they had in Central Florida, where you don't just get a Democrat, you end up with people like Alan Grayson, who are the worst nightmare for those people. Yeah. Okay, so if these people, Peter, do not want 60 new Barney Franks in Congress, or 60 new Maxine Waters or Dennis Kucinich's, okay, why are they making a situation where they're sort of asking for it, man? That's what I don't get.
I think I don't know what they're drinking, but they must be out of this world right now in their judgment, because they're going to face real opposition at the polls when this happens, because it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, you want to have a job.
That's
and
right.
You want to not have cuts on your Social Security, on your regular, things like Pell Grants for your children. Those are going to affect, doesn't matter what party you are, they're going to be really pissed. And let me tell you something. Back in 1932, at the Great Depression, the third year of the Great Depression, there was a fiscal cliff problem because the Republicans and Democrats, but mainly Republicans actually, in the 1920s, had cut taxes on the richest people. But from 63%, they dropped it to 25%, Johnny, and we ended up with a fiscal cliff, and that was stalled when a bunch of progressive Democrats and Republicans voted to reimpose the tax in 1932 from 23% up to 62% once again.
Okay.
And that's what happened because of the reaction. I'm telling you, something like that could happen with these people.
Okay, Johnny Venom, then the question does remain. You are, say, a Democratic Party strategist or a lefty independent or something like that. Now, all these people are losing their jobs and people are freaking out over payroll taxes going back up and all that stuff. And you go and go, just simply repeat this mantra over and over again. They'll go to the wall for the wealthy. They won't do anything for you. Vote for me. Isn't that all we're going to hear in 2014 if this thing plays out?
Oh, yeah. In fact, if I were the Democrats, I would have two game plans.
Okay.
First, identify a pragmatic Republican, which is one who's willing to vote for whatever measure being proposed versus going to the fiscal cliff, because if I have a defense firm contract in my district, I'm going to vote regardless. I'm not going to vote against.
Right.
Now, a Tea Partier will vote against. So here's what I would do. I would identify all the pragmatic Republicans and say to ourselves, let's offer the most senior one the deal of a century. How would you like to be Speaker? Essentially unseat Bonnier, and the Democrats work with these pragmatic Republicans. Whoever is left, it's got to be at least enough.
You're on some strong drugs today, man.
No,
it's not going to be Bonnier who's going to lose his job. Bonnier is going to lose his job to somebody who's more pliable. He's going to lose it to Cantor. He's going to lose it to some.
Hear me out, though.
Okay, I'll hear you out, but I think you're wrong on this one.
Under House rules, they have to get approval from all the members, and you have to get majority vote.
Okay.
All right, under House rules. So if I'm the Democrats, I'm figuring, how do we bide our time until the elections? Let's replace Bonnier. Let's make sure Cantor's not even in a position. We're going to help some Republican become Speaker. They'll vote our way. These 20 to 30 Republicans, will vote our way, and we'll get something done.
You think?
If I were a Democrat, I would think that as we bide our time till the 2014 election.
Okay, Peter, do you think that what Mr. Venom is talking about is going to happen?
Boehner himself right now is saying that he's not going to allow another vote on this compromise package because he knows that if he does that and the Democrats do win with 40 Republicans joining them, then he's toast as far as the Republican caucus goes, the Republican Congress re-electing him as Speaker.
Right.
And generally the tradition is that in the House rules is that each party nominates its own leadership, including Speaker, and then the rest of the House ratifies it. So there's a very dynamic situation there, and I'm not sure exactly if I know for sure Boehner will not allow that vote to come up, that bipartisan vote, because it'll pass. And he'll lose his speakership. So he's really caught between a rock and a hard place here.
Because he's facing either a rebellion from his own people, be angry because he sold them out, and anger from the American public, and certainly anger from any political strategist who says, look, man, we've seen the polls. 55% of the country says the Republican Party is too far to the right. That's 55%. It's not like 45 says it's too far to the left. It says 55 says too far to the right. It's like we're going to end up getting kicked out of these gerrymandered districts. We're going to lose state houses in Ohio and Wisconsin and Florida. Then they're just going to gerrymander us. We're going to be down to 140 seats. We are talking with two experts, political scientists, Peter Mathews, day trader and economist extraordinaire, Johnny Venom. Sirs, welcome back to the program. Hello?
Yes?
There's Mr. Venom and Mr. Mathews.
Yes, sir.
You were there as well. Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure you were still here. I'm blinded by the glare off of Mondo's shirt, you see, so I'm not entirely myself right now. In fact, I feel like I'm back at Woodstock having eaten 5 hits of the brown acid. That being said, gentlemen, and I say that loosely, we've been talking about the fiscal cliff and going off the fiscal cliff, what's going to happen. I've been looking at some of these poll numbers in the LA Times, and the public does not like this idea at all. And oddly enough, despite the fact that the president only garnered about 51% of the vote in the national elections, most of the public stands with the president and with the Democrats on this one. The Republicans have they've destroyed their public image over the last few years. Mr. Mathews, you're a teacher of political science. Why did they do this to themselves? This doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think that it's that right-wing Tea Party group that's leading the tail wagging the dog, Johnny. That's what's going on here.
Okay.
And they're just die-hard believers. They believe that they're right, and they can convince people to their point of view. Let me tell you what they're going to do in the spring, though. As soon as this thing's over, January comes around, and you got the debt ceiling. We're going to run out of money. The government's not going to be able to borrow unless the debt ceiling is raised in January or February. That's the latest they can go because we run out of money. So what the Republicans might do is to use that as leverage against Obama and the Democrats and say, you want the debt ceiling raised? Here's what we want. But that won't play very well either. Then they'll be looking like petulant kids, wouldn't they?
All right.
They're on this downward spiral in a lot of ways.
All right.
I really can't explain that fully.
All right, Johnny Venom. Recognizing, look, even if I am a diehard Republican, I would say I know how to read, but diehard Republicans and literacy don't generally belong in the same sentence. They do know how to read poll numbers generally. Okay, or more accurately, even though they may be challenged in some ways, they do know when one number is bigger than another. All right, Mr. Venom. They have to recognize by now that public sentiment is against them on this one, and they will be blamed, and they will be blamed badly for this. This being the case, John, why are they doing this? I don't. This is. You know what this is like? Mondo and I were talking about this before. It's like if you are playing a show, because Mondo's a musician also. He plays the bass, and, you've seen me play and all that stuff. If you've got bad songs in your set, right, and you continue to play them because you're convinced they're awesome, okay, even though they suck. They're horrible. People are running out to go to the bathroom or to get a hot dog or to slit their wrists. They hate the song so much, okay? And you keep them in your set anyway. That says that you're an idiot, that you don't understand the public and that you're not paying any attention to them. Now, I know as a musician, every band I ever played in, when we had a crap song, out it went after a couple of gigs. It just went. And I wrote them all, man. They were my babies. And I was like, well, this was good. I really cared about this one. It doesn't make any difference, dude. If it stinks, it's got to go. How come, Johnny Venom? They know that this isn't popular. They know what the ramifications are going to be. Why are they doing this? I don't get it.
Oh, they're not popular to you and the rest of the public.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but remember, even though they have a challenge of even going through the pop-up book version of Mein Kampf, they will go through it. Same thing within this bubble that they live in. They will live in this bubble where these people, look at, you've seen the people that interact on my Facebook page, for example.
Yes, I know. They're idiots.
All right,
yeah.
These people truly believe that the government must be cut at all costs, irrespective of anything.
Okay, but if you cut the government too far, as you and Professor Mathews and I have discussed, at least 250,000 people in this neck of the woods, California, the engine of the American economy, is going to be harmed, all right? And if we're going to be harmed, your friends in Chicago, those bums that like to think of themselves as the next Donald Trump, and you can tell them I said that, by the way, they're going to get harmed too.
Yeah,
I mean, look. No. Let me finish. Let me finish what I'm saying. It's one thing if I'm a masochist, right? And I like it when somebody takes a paddle to my back or burns wax on me, whatever people who are into that stuff like, okay? I'm not into that stuff, but there's some people who like that, okay? At least you get some kind of sexual gratification out of that. They do. I don't. Why? Vanessa's like, I can't believe he's saying this. It's like... Dude, if you get absolutely nothing out of something, why do you persist? That's what I'm asking.
You don't understand. Defense is separate. In their minds, at all costs, they must have the ability to destroy other people, particularly brown people.
Understood.
All right? They just
that.
do. They must have this army. They must have these 17 floating aircraft carriers, okay?
Right. As
they
opposed
must
to
have
sinking
it.
ones,
So defense, when you think of government, in their minds, they're thinking of the DMV, Social Security,
right,
and everything else that they think is a waste. So long as the defense is not touched, everything must go.
Okay, Professor Mathews, we'll close with you here on this one. I believe you agree with Mr. Venom, and we only got about a minute left in this segment.
I do, and I wanted to mention one more thing.
Go ahead.
Go right ahead and ask me first. Okay, I was going to say that there's another factor here. Grover Norquist. You heard of the...
Yeah, we know who he is, yeah.
That whole pledge, that tax pledge these guys signed, is they're worried about a right-wing challenge in the primaries from them. But I think Grover Norquist is not as powerful as some of these guys think that he is.
No.
But let's keep going. What's your question for me before we wrap it up?
Okay. We got to wrap this up in a second. But
Yeah.
here's the thing: if you don't get anything out of something, why would you do it? Okay, I realize that's an odd rhetorical question to ask a college professor, but dude, they don't get anything out of this. This is what I don't understand. You don't even have the satisfaction of knowing you're right because everybody knows you're wrong.
Well, that is true, but the guys that are running for re-election are running in those safe districts, and they think that they're going to win re-election. That's the number one priority. They're not looking at the overall picture of how to expand the Republican base or expand the Republican brand. And that's the problem with these guys. They're so short-sighted, they're not looking at the overall picture for their own party or the country itself. And they're going to find out. Believe me, they are, Johnny.
We have been talking with Peter Mathews and Johnny Venom about the impending fiscal cliff, which apparently we are about to go over in a few days. Gentlemen, beginning with Johnny Venom here, we were talking about how both parties seem to be playing chicken with each other in the hopes that they'll be able to restore everything come the 15th of January. Johnny Venom, do you think that some things are not going to be retrieved no matter what under any circumstances? What is absolutely dead as of 2013?
The payroll tax cut.
That's gone.
That's gone.
Okay. Is this something to weep bitter tears over?
No.
No.
It should. I know your other guest is going to disagree with me.
No, I bet he
doesn't. In a long run, this would have been detrimental to Social Security.
Yes, and Medicare both. Yes, I know.
I would have. You know what? I'll say, if the president was really playing Chicago-style politics, he would say, "I'll tell you what. You can have your tax cut, but we're we're removing the cap on Social Security."
Yep, goes all the way up for every dollar you earn. Yeah. Okay.
I'd agree with that. Absolutely. Johnny's right on that one. Raise the cap, keep the cut if you want, but raise the cap, and that'll bring in a lot more money. And you know what else, Johnny? There's something else here, and that is the wealthiest donors. The less than 1% of the wealthiest, or the American population that's the wealthiest, are giving huge amounts of money to campaigns of mostly the Republicans. They get more of those individual contributions, the Sheldon Adelsons and the Citizens United type of spending.
Cokes.
These big donors are mostly Republicans. Some are Democratic, they're more open-minded, and Democrats get a diversity of money from PACs and individual smaller donors.
Right.
But these Republican right-wingers, Tea Partiers, the Koch brothers, these guys are funding them, and they're scared of even talking about raising taxes on the rich people like that.
Okay.
That's the key right there, in my view.
Okay.
Dollar democracy.
I got a question, though. It'll come back to Peter Mathews, but beginning with Johnny Venom here. No matter how wealthy you are, history has shown us that if you ignore the will of what most people want, you end up with, the hordes overrunning you, which is what happened to the Roman Empire. After existing for 430 years, they ignored the well-being of the Roman people. The soldiers came back, and that was the end of their empire. All right, we've seen in history, for example, like in France in the 1780s, when the Bourbon family did not pay heed to what the middle class and working people wanted, they ended up being about a foot short per person. Okay, that's what happened. Heads literally rolled on that one. We saw what happened in Russia in 1917, 1918, 1919. We saw what happened in America in the 1930s. Johnny Venom, why are they so, and Professor Mathews is going to love this word, why are they so sanguine about this? Seriously.
I don't think they understand the real situation.
Yes.
Keynes wrote, actually, let me simplify it here. Keynes basically said that every man, in order to have a stable economy, should have skin in the game.
That's right.
And as you remove their skin in the game and you push them more and more in the fringes, you are essentially telling them they've got nothing to lose.
Okay, moving to Professor Mathews, we had Tim Redmond on about a year ago. Johnny remembers this. And I made the analogy of the Koch brothers, Adelson, and the rest of Bob Parry, the rest of these big donors. They're like a matador that keeps waving the cape at us, the bull, until the bull finally realizes, I'm a steer. I'm an idiot. I'm not very smart. I'm going to end up as a steak someday. However, what I do know is this. The cape is not my problem. The guy waving the cape is my problem. His friend, the picador, has been throwing spears into my back, and I really hate him, but I can't hit him, and the cape keep running at that thing, and they keep lifting it. On the other hand, the funny-looking guy in the capri pants, if I gore him with my horns, that's the end of my problems. Okay? We are like that bull that's filled with the picadors, or whatever they call those things. I don't know what they're called. And we are filled with those spears, and we have gone through the cape a bunch of times, okay? And now we're looking at them, and we're this bull, and we're thinking, something? It ain't the cape, and it ain't the picadors. It's the jerk in the capri pants. I'm going to gore him. Do you think that moment has happened yet?
You know, I think that's a great analogy, by the way. But I do think
Thank you.
that this is amazingly forgotten by the wealthiest people. Not all of them. There's some wealthy people who look ahead of the game and they're more open-minded about things, about helping other people have a chance in life.
Yeah.
But the few that are so selfish, Johnny, I think there's got to be a psychological reason. You've got to talk to a psychologist about addiction to this material, accumulation of living like a king. They can't, 10 million is not enough. They want 10 billion. And I don't understand that thinking, although I do believe that they've come to become part of like a heroin addiction to them, that they can't imagine giving up the second yacht or the third yacht. They want to have 5 yachts.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Doesn't make any sense.
Here's the thing,
Yeah,
Peter. Here's the thing that I don't understand. Right? You got one family in America. Sam Walton and his 6 heirs have what, more money than 1/3 of the country combined.
It's unbelievable.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's like, don't they get that you can build a fortress in Arkansas, wherever they are, up in the hills, in the Ozarks, in Arkansas, and you're safe from the hordes? All right. Problem is this: who the hell wants to be in a goddamn fortress in Arkansas? Nobody does. Okay, you want to be able to freely. You want to. Well, I don't want to be there. Johnny Venom doesn't want to be there. Mondo would, because he could scare them out of there with his puke shirt. But that's not the issue here.
I think if you were to examine their brains,
yeah,
the makeup would probably be the same thing as those who you see in those hoarding shows.
Yeah, they're hoarders, only they're really successful hoarders because there was a hoarder a grandfather or great-grandfather that hoarded and died and left it to them and manipulated the laws so they got to keep all their loot. Look, here's an interesting thing, gentlemen, to both of you. Of the three of us, none of us hate wealth and none of us hate rich people. No. I don't hate rich people. I don't care. Okay, I don't know any, really. Okay, so how can I hate them? I only really hate stuff that I actually know about, okay? What bothers me is, don't you get that your stinginess may cause an upheaval that brings misery to me, my wife, and my 2 children? That's what I care about. See, Johnny was talking about 5 minutes ago about skin in the game. That's my skin in the game, you see. And so going over this fiscal cliff, 250,000 jobs in California disappear, Medi-Cal gets cut. All kinds of jobs, projects freeze up. It's bad for us. I don't know why they do it, but they're doing it, dude. Okay, that's the issue. Out of touch. I don't get it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. It's been a pleasure having you. Peter Mathews, a professor at Cypress College. Johnny Venom, day trader extraordinaire. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us at K-Talk.
Great to talk to you.
Okay.